Everybody, hi everybody. Welcome to the Basic Unity workshop for the Global Game Jam Singapore 2022. Yeah, before that, I need on my video. So yep, I am Ming Heng, who will be conducting the workshop, and we also have Gerald, NG, and Wei Heng, who will be answering your questions in chat. We are all from the NUS Game Development Group, or GDG for short. So the main aim of this workshop is to get you all familiar with the Unity game engine for the upcoming Global Game Jam. The workshop will not go into fine details and the technicalities due to the time constraint, as well as the varying technical expertise each of the participants have. So what we'll be doing is it will be a follow-along session where we'll be creating and putting together a simple 2D platformer using pre-made assets and scripts. So yeah, before we start, I want to give you some pointers. Let's say during the game jam, if you want to implement a certain feature or script, but don't know how to start, there are many amazing video tutorials, forum posts, and documentations out there to reference. So there are a few notable YouTube channels that I can recommend, like Becky's Code Monkey and Sebastian Lage. So this one, have very in-depth explanation on how to implement certain features that you might want to use in your game jam, because Unity is has a big community. So many of the features or many of the scripts might already have been written by other people. So you can refer to it and adapt it to your game jam ideas. Yeah. So I'll paste the links for these channels in the chat. Yeah, so before the Unity workshop, I believe there was an announcement to install Unity Hub, as well as the Unity editor version 2020.3.19F1, which is, this is the Unity Hub. Then you will be using 2020.3.19F1. Yeah. Okay, so I'll repost the links to the things that you have to do again, in case you haven't done so, and if you want to follow along for this session. Yeah. So one more thing we have to do for this workshop is we'll be needing a code editor, something like Visual Studio. Those people who already have Visual Studio community or the Visual Studio, we do not need to do this step. But however, if you do not have, please install Visual Studio. The links are in the chat again. Yeah, so if you have Visual Studio installed before, you can skip this step. If not, you just install it. So how to do it is click here. We're using the community version, which is the free one. Then you just install. It will come out a prompt for you to install. Yeah. And when you are downloading the Visual Studio, ensure that the game development in Unity is selected. So this will import all the necessary things we need for the Unity game development. And yeah, it will have IntelliSense and everything configured for you. Okay, yep. So before we start, I will show you what we'll be creating in this workshop first, like to get an idea of what will be the end product. This will be a very simple 2D platformer. So we have a main menu. Let me press play. Let the Unity load for a while. Okay, so we have a simple main menu. Press start and go to the first level. You collect the coins, you fall down, you die. Simple platformer stuff. So collect coins to get scores, avoid spikes, you die if you hit the spikes. And try to finish the level. Then to reach the flag. So if you go to the next level, avoid the spikes. Yeah, and then this will end the game. We have a thank you page, and we can go back to the main menu to replay the game. Yeah, so this will be a very simple platformer. So as you can see, the features we have is the jumping, the moving mechanics, as well as the dying to obstacles, dying when you fall out of a map, as well as avoiding coins to, as well as collecting coins to get points. Yep. Okay, so before we start, this workshop will be recorded and the recording will be released. So you can either follow along now, or you can just sit back and absorb and try it out later yourself. So yeah, so for those who are following along, if you have not downloaded any of the things, or if you need me to wait, please type chat or just unmute and just ask me to wait. Yeah, so I'll give about 1 to 2 minutes to see if anybody that's following along has not downloaded the necessary like Unity Hub. Yeah, okay, I got one person. Yeah. Unity Hub might, not sure which one you haven't downloaded, but Unity Hub might take a bit of time. Yeah, so Visual Studio will take very fast, will be about 5 minutes. So yeah. So we'll wait for a while. While waiting, I'll explain what is Unity Editor first. Yeah. So. Okay, so this is the Unity editor. Yeah, let me reset the windows so that it will look like how you will see it later. So those who have already Unity, just create a sample project, and you just come into the editor to just follow along with the tools. But yeah, we will not create the actual game yet. That I will go through later. Yeah. So first, let me reset all my layouts so that it looks exactly like how fresh installed. Okay, yeah. So this is how it looks like fresh installed. Okay, so we will look at all the elements in this Unity editor one by one. So left side is the hierarchy. So hierarchy contains all the game objects that you have currently in the scene. So for example, I have a player here and I have my interactables, which consists of the finish one, the coins, spikes. Yeah, so you just double click on any of these game object to focus on them. Okay, then you can look around. This second tab is called the scene tab. Yeah, so you can look around the scene tab by holding the middle mouse button. I think this is similar to some 3D software that you might have used before. Yeah, so middle mouse button, you can move around. Or you can select this hand tool here to move around with the left button if you do not have a middle mouse button. Okay, yeah. So we can see, let's say for the player, there are some tools on top of the hierarchy that can help you transform or move, just like a 3D or 3D software. Like you can move, like you click on the second tool, which is the move tool. There will be arrows coming out, then you can move up, down, left, right, the usual 2D stuff. Then you can also rotate. The third tool is the rotate tool. The fourth one is a scale tool. You can scale it sideways, upwards. The rect tool is also similar to the scale, which is a freeform scale. Then the last one we have is a move, rotate, and scale tool. So it's everything in one go. And you can move, rotate, scale. Okay. The last one is for editor tools. This one is if you have a custom tools or any editor. Yeah, like you can see for some who have we don't have any custom tools. Okay, so this is the hierarchy as well as the tools that we can use to transform our player or any game object in the game scene, in the scene. So the next one is the game scene. So you can see there's two scenes. So this normal scene is the entire world. You can move around. Whereas the game scene is what you see when you play the game. So this is projected by the camera. So we have a camera here, the main camera. So if you go back to the scene and you press main camera, you'll see this little screen that come out. Basically, this is what the game scene is. Yeah. So let's say as you move the character, I shall dock it side by side. Okay, yeah, as you move the character, you can see the scene also, the game view also moving. So in order to undock and dock stuff, you just hold them. Then you just snap. You'll be snapping to the thing. Or if you want to put it together, you can just put it here like this. Okay, yeah. So for this project, I think it's better to put it like this so we can see what is going on when we move in the actual scene, what happens to the game in real time. Yeah. Okay, we have not teach how to get the assets yet. Yeah, because because you're waiting for the rest to finish downloading the necessary items. So first, after everyone is done, then we will go through on how to bring in and import all these assets. Yeah. Okay. So let me let me check like everybody is anybody still downloading anything or any video wait? If not, we'll continue with creating the actual project. Then we can, okay, yeah, still downloading. Yeah, okay, then I'll continue more. Okay, so as you can see here, when you move using the tools, okay, so those people who like already done and want to play along with the tools, what you can do is you can just right click 2D object, sprite, square. So we have a blank square. Then you can treat it as the player. Then we can move around, you can scale, yeah, same thing. So this would be like a blank square for you to play around. So it's under 2D objects, sprites, and square, or any other shapes you want. It's okay. Yeah. So we can play around. So if you see when you move the move tool, you have this. So for VSS, we click only this one under gaming, game development with Unity. Yeah, okay, yeah. So let's continue on the movement tools and stuff. So we can see on the right side, there's this thing called the inspector. So this inspector has the components attached to the game object. So I select player. See, the player has a different set of components attached. The canvas has another set of components attached. Another one has another kind of components. And most components, most game objects will have this transform component attached. So what is transform is basically it's the position or the position, rotation, and scale in the game space. So when I move my player, you can see the position, the x-axis, the x position has been updated in real time as I move. So what this means is you can either move using the tools or you can move also from the inspector. Yeah, you can slide here to move, or you want exact numbers, you can type in like 10. You move exactly to this point 10 in the world space. Okay. So y-axis up and down. Then same thing for rotation. Basically what we did just now with the rotation tool. You can rotate your guy around. You can also scale him around. Everything is the same here. Okay. Yeah, then under player, we have other components that we will go through later. So yeah. So this is the inspector. So inspector, you can view the parameters of the components. You can add or remove components from here. Add components, or you can remove the component. And let's say if you want to reset the transform, you right click, there are things you can do. You can reset, that means you reset it to 0, 0, 0. Yeah. So that is the inspector. The inspector basically is a way for you to view all the components attached to a game object. So now moving along to the bottom, which is the project folder. So the project folder will contain all the assets that is for you to group all the assets that you want to import or have in your project. So for this project, I have created a few folders for myself. So the only folder that will be pre-created is the scene folder. So the rest you can create yourself, and you can find out which layout works for you. Okay, so for me, I will just split the folder into the different type of assets. So for example, art, music, physics materials will cover later, prefabs or prefabricated items, scenes, scripts, and this is the one we'll be importing later from Unity Asset Store. Okay, so these are projects. The folders, same thing as a normal folder system. You can create a folder, You can nest folders together. You can have a folder in the folder. Yep, and you can just drag and drop items into this folder from your actual file system to download the items, to import in the items. Yeah, so I'll delete this. So remember in Unity, once you delete something, it's gone forever. So please be careful. Okay, yeah. I think we can. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I think we can start with creating a new project for everybody. If you don't have VSS yet, it's still okay as long as you have the Unity Hub. We'll go through the VSS one later. Yeah. So those who have, or those who are following along at Unity Hub, please open your Unity Hub. Then we will press the new project button. Ensure you select this 2020.3.19.f1. But if you have any other older versions, but they are not that old or not too old, it's still fine. You'll still be able to follow along. Yeah, so you don't need to re-download. But recommended for this one is 2020.3.19f1. Okay, so the templates that we'll be using is the normal 2D, simple 2D core one. And the project name, you can name it anything you want. So I'll name it my first platformer. Okay, and we can press create. Okay, this will take some time to create. Okay, yeah, it's loading in the backend, so we just wait for after you create. So for those who are curious, like what does the versions mean, right? So this 2020.3.19.f1 is the LTS version. So what LTS stands for is the long-term support. So that means this year is 2020, so it will support for about 2 to 3 more years. So let's say if you're making a game that is going to last you, or a game project that might spend over a couple of years, please use the LTS version. So you can also still use the other alpha beta versions if you need some latest features that Unity release, but it might have instability issues and will not have official support for Unity. Yeah. So if you want to have a project that you want to carry on for a long time, please pick the LTS version. Okay, I think it's still loading for me. Yeah, it's still loading. So you have this bar, it's still loading. Creating your project for the first time will take some time. Okay, while we wait for that again, let's just continue with the one because yeah, it takes some time. Okay, so this is the project folder. This is the console. The console is basically where you see any error logs, warning logs, or anything that you want to print out. If you have done programming before, I think everybody will know the print line or print or debug. Yeah, so all your debug will be here. So you can debug your code by printing out certain lines to see if it's behaving properly, or also, I mean, to check if there's warning and errors. Yeah. Okay, so looks like my game has loaded in. So this will be the blank canvas. Yeah, so this will be the blank canvas. So as you can see, at my project folder, there's nothing. There's only the one that I said previously. There's only one folder called scene. Yeah. Okay, so let's start importing the necessary art assets. So you can download art assets from royalty-free sites like itch.io. There's some, but Unity already has a powerful and a very vast store that you can use, and also has free assets as well as paid assets. So this one you can not only get art asset, you can also get music, sound, even like pre-made features like scripts and everything for you if you really want to. So this is how you access the Unity asset store. So this one we will need the Unity account. Yep. So how do we get the asset store out is, first you go under window, then you go under asset store, click on asset store. So when you do that, you come out a new tab. Beside your scene game, you have another tab called asset store. Okay, so we can press this to search at Unity asset store. Okay, so those, you can also directly access it from this link here that I've copied in the chat. Yeah, so this will open another browser called the Unity Asset Store. Make sure you are logged in. And we'll browse through the Unity Asset Store. So you can see here, there's so many assets you can use. Yeah, and for the game jam purpose, I'll teach you how you can find art. So let's say you want a 2D platformer. There's so many 2D platformer arts you can use. You can, if you really like it, you can buy. But for this project, we'll be getting it free. So the pricing here, just drag the slider to 0. Yep. So then you press the arrow button. So it will just chooses all the free assets that has the name 2D platformer. So you can find. Yeah. So there's many. So if you want, you can also find music here, like background music. You can set it to free. Yep. And you can also have sound effects. Also free. Yeah. So you have many free assets you can play with. But for this one, please, for the project today, we'll be searching for 2D platformer. Select free, go here. And we'll be choosing the simple 2D platformer asset pack. This one. Okay, it will be by this person called Gold Metal. So you can click on the blue button here. I think initially it will be something like add asset or something like that. Let me try another one. Yeah, add to my assets. So you click on this simple 2D platformer asset by Gold Metal and you press add to asset. Then once you're done, you don't need to press open in Unity. I think we are after that we are done for here. Okay, yeah. So anybody still not at this step can just type in the chat first. So you go to the Unity Asset Store, we just press add to asset. But make sure you're logged into the Unity account. Okay, yeah. So let's continue. So once you are inside, once it's already inside your asset pack or your assets, you can go back to Unity. Click on this button called Open Package Manager. Then you, under this little tab here, Packages, in Project, we change to My Assets. So these are the assets that you previously bought or have added to your assets. Yeah, so you can, so let's, for me, I have quite a few, but for you, you should only have 1 or 2. So we can find the simple 2D platformer asset pack. Then we simply press import. Okay, so we import everything. But if you are in the actual project, let's say if you really don't need some items, you can just unclick to not import. But for today, we'll just import everything. Okay, wait some time to import. Okay, now we have a folder called 2D Simple Platformer BE2. Okay, so open asset store. So in order to open the package manager, you first need to have this asset store tab, which is under Windows, asset store. Then you go to open package manager. Then you select my assets. Then you find the simple 2D platformer asset pack. And you press import and import everything. Yep, so you can see the sprites, everything here. Okay, cool. So now let's get into making our folders so that you don't get confused. Okay, so first we have a scene folder. Now let's create a script folder. Scripts. You can also create, I'll zoom it in a bit more. So you can also create art. Okay, we don't have music for this, so we will just have these three first for now. Okay, art, scene, and scripts. Right click to create a new folder. Yep, hopefully we're done with that. Okay, so now this is just a personal preference of mine, and also to keep your projects clean. So sometimes you have many assets that you import. So you create these folders, many, but inside here they have like their own set of system, which are like see the demo, readme, sprites, whatever. So we have sometimes I have more. So I would like to I will usually copy out the things that I want to use. Okay, so for example, I only want these spreadsheets. I want all these spreadsheets. So I want them to put it into my art folder. Okay, so in Unity, unfortunately, you cannot just Control-C, Control-V. You can do that. So what you can do is you can right click on this sprite folder. Okay, go back here, go to the simple platformer, sprite. You right click, show in Explorer. Okay, this will open up your normal Windows or Mac Explorer. Then you can click on the sprites. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy our sprites into our art asset folder. Okay, so from this 2D simple platformer BE2 to our art asset folders. Okay, once you're done, you automatically refresh and you can see all the art assets already here. Okay, yeah, please do this step. Okay, so while doing this step, I would like to explain more about assets. So if you look at the overview, right, you can see that some assets, especially this asset is commercially available as long as you cite the source. You just indicate the source in your game. Yeah, so there are also cases that have restricted use. So that means you cannot publish it. So please ensure that you look at the overview at the bottom to ensure you're not using any restricted assets. And also, if you don't have any explanation, anything, you can simply just click on the person that created it. Usually they will have their email. You can email them to check with them if you can use their assets for your game, if it's a free asset. Yeah. Okay, so I will link another link in the chat. So this is a how non-commercial restricted asset will look like. Yeah, so you can see here there is a restricted license. You cannot use it for any other purposes. Yeah, so please ensure all this before you use the asset and publish it as your game. Okay, so let's go back to our Unity. So folders hopefully created and the art assets hopefully have already been populated. Okay, so next thing we are going to import the scripts. So these scripts, I'll give you my, what you call that? Google Drive link, and you just download all the scripts. Okay, so you can use a file explorer to do it. If you drag and drop, right, you will realize that oops, sorry. You do this, you realize sometimes that the items will disappear from the original folder. So that's why we copy it using the file explorer. But you can also do this. But if you really want it, because sometimes if you really messed up or change some settings and you want to revert back, this folder is still here for you with all the assets. Yeah, that's why I use the explorer to copy out. But if for today, I think you can just also copy and just drag and drop. But yeah, so okay, now we have the art folder. Now please download the scripts, all the scripts from the script. I think there's 3 scripts. Okay, so now these 3 scripts, you can just simply drag it into your script folder. Yeah, sometimes Unity might not allow you to do this. So what this means is basically you have to extract it out first, then you can import it in. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we extract it out to a desktop first. Then we will copy in the scripts. Copy in the script. I think Unity is stuck. So let me close this first. And reopen Unity. File Explorer is your built-in Windows or Mac File Explorer. So you right click, and you can press show in folder or show in Explorer. Then you can just copy around here using your Control-C and Control-V. Yeah, so this is how you move around your items. If you want to have a copy instead of dragging it to another folder. Okay, yeah, so now let's put in our scripts. So our script, we have a menu script, player controller script, and a player interaction script. So .meta file, no need to worry about that. It's just a, don't think you need that. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can you can just copy without the meta file, and you will still create a meta file for it. So you can just copy the actual sprites. Another one's a menu. So 3. So we have a menu, player controller, and player interaction script in our script folder, and an art or in our art set folder. Okay, yeah. So now let's start designing the game or the level. Okay, so we will have a platform. So I'll show you 2 ways of creating the platform. So the first way is just drag and drop like this. You can see that it's inconsistent, and you have to slowly go and adjust later on, like this. Yeah, to get a perfect fit. Okay. This is a tedious process, and let's say if you have a platform of multiple lengths, you're gonna have quite a hard time trying to create many platforms with different varying lengths. Okay, so this is the just drag and drop the sprite. So another method we'll be using is we'll be using tile maps. So basically, tile maps will just snap into these squares that you can see here. So this will perfectly align all the sprites. Okay, so let's delete this tree first. So how do we create a sprite tile map? So you go under your hierarchy, right click, under 2D object, under tile map, rectangular. So it's 2D object, tile map, rectangular. Okay, because the rectangular, because the shape of our sprites are edge, like a square shape. Yeah, so that's why we choose the rectangular. Okay, so if you have other things like your term-based RTS, that kind, maybe you have hexagonal sprites, you can take these two. But yeah, for our case, we can use the rectangular. Okay, now you see that we have created the grid and the tile map. So the grid, you can change the cell size, you can make it bigger, you can make it weird, like 1x2, 2x1, anything. Yeah, but for this case, we will just set it to 1, 1. Gap size, if you want to have gaps between your tiles, you can do that also. But we're not going to do that. So 0, 0. Okay, yeah. Then layout is rectangular. This one we don't need to touch. Okay, so the tile map is where we will be actually painting our ground on our platforms on. Okay, so how do we paint on this one? So we need to open the tile palette. So you can, when you click on this tile map, you will see this thing appear. You can just click it like this. Or if it doesn't appear here, you can go under Windows, 2D, tile palette. So this will come out the tile palette. So as same thing, you can also dock it to the side, which I will do it. So now we have another tab called the tile palette tab. Okay, now they are prompting you to create a new palette because without the new palette, you cannot paint on these squares. So now let's create a tile palette. Okay, so we create new palette. Now let's name it as platform. So this will be all where all our platform tiles will be saved. So we name it platform. So grid size rectangular because it's squares. Yep, so automatic. So we will automatically get the cell size. So we don't need to do anything. So yeah, then you press create. Then they will ask you where to put this tile map object or this tile palette. So in our art folder, let's create a new folder. Let's just name it tiles. So we will save all the relevant, all the items related to tile in this folder called tiles. So you select this tile folder. I select folder. Then you see a tile folder has been created here. And inside here, we have this platform tile. See the tile palette. So far, you see it's empty because you have not added any sprite onto the tile palette. Okay, so how to add a sprite on the tile palette? Okay, yep. Okay, I'll slow down a bit. So any part we need to recap. So first thing is you need to create your tile map, which is here, 2D object, tile map, rectangular. Then you'll be prompted to open up this thing called the tile palette. So it's either on the bottom right hand corner, or you can go under Windows to open the tile palette under 2D and tile palette. Then you'll reach this stage. And once you have here, you can create a new tile palette and save it under the assets, the art assets folder. And if you want to be more organized, create a tiles subfolder inside the art asset folder. Yeah. I'll give some time for this one. Let me know if you all need to repeat any of the steps. Okay, so once you have created, you have this platform. There's a blank platform, which is a tile palette object. Okay, how to create a tile palette? How to get the tile palette window, right? Is basically, yeah, I'll close this tile palette window. Close the tab. Okay, how do you get it? So you click on tile map, you will see this thing appear, say open tile palette. You can click here, or you can go under Windows, 2D, tile palette. Yeah, two ways of getting this out. So you can also dock it the same way by holding the tab here. Just docking it here. How to make the tile map rectangular? Okay, so the tile map, you go under grid, you can change this to rectangle. Or when you first created it, you can just select it as a rectangular tile map. So under 2D tile map, rectangular tile map. Okay, you can select other shapes next time if you want for your RTS game. If you have turn-based RTS, it's hexagonal ones. But yeah, for this case, it's rectangle. So to change the cell layout, you just go under your grid, change the cell layout to rectangle. If you accidentally did something wrong or anything, just go here, reset, because we'll be using the default values for the grid. Okay, I think we can move on to the tile palette to add the actual tiles in the tile palette. Okay, so now after you created the platform tile palette object, now it's going to ask you to drag tile sprite or sprite texture assets here. Okay, so that means they want you to drag your platform. So go on the art, on the platform, you drag the entire thing over here like this. Okay, so how to do this again is you open your tile palette one, you select the platform tile object that you created, and you just drag in the platform. And they're going to ask you to save, because now the sprites will be converted to a tile. So that's why I created a new tile folder, because it'll be quite messy. So simply select the tile folder and press select folder. And now you see the tiles has been imported. So, and you can see, open your tile folder, see there's a lot of things created. Yeah. So now you have a platform tile palette with the tiles inside. Okay, now we have this. Let's make it smaller. Become smaller. Okay, now we can start painting. So instead of just now dragging in your sprites and slowly adjusting it, right? So now by painting the tiles itself, you just snap onto place. Like let's say I want to paint this tree together. I just select this tree, hold and select, and pull to the paintbrush one, and just place like this. You have 3 tiles just like this very quickly. Or let's say you want to have different length, right? So we select the end piece. Say I want to have a 3 meter, 4 meter piece and another end piece. So we have another platform. Simply just by painting on the little squares. Okay, then you have an entire chunk of land also. You can do this. Yeah, for this game, we will just be using this on top one to paint on the tiles. Yep, so simply just paint out a level, a random level. Make sure the jumping squares is only like 1. Like here go one space here. So if it's a flat jump, you can have a 2 space or 3 space. But if it's jumping to another level up, then you have only 1 space. Yeah, let's ensure that. Okay, so let's say if you want to delete your tiles, sometimes you make a mistake. There's an eraser tool. Erase, same as your art stuff. Control Z to reset everything. And let's say you want to move your tiles, because just now you can see from the when you just drag it out as a sprite, right? You can just use this move tool and move around, but now you can't do it anymore. So once you place down, how do I move it around? So what you can do is select the entire tile that you want to move. Like let's say I want to select this one. So I want to move it downwards. So the first one is to select, the first two is to select, and the second two is to move. You can move it around. Okay, so yeah. So this way you don't need to erase and redo everything if you just want to move one like the tile. So first one to select, second one to move. Okay, just make a simple platform. Just make a simple like this, a game. You can see from here, yeah, that's all. Okay, how to paint the tiles? So first you have created the tile palette, moved in the entire sprite. Then you click on any tiles that you want, go to the paintbrush icon, which is the third one, and you just paint. If you want consistency, you get the end first, middle one, then the 2 ends. It'll look nice. Yeah, so this is how to paint. So the paintbrush, select the tile that you want to paint, click the paintbrush icon, and just paint. Okay, for now, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 to 5 platforms should be enough for the first level. It's just like a showcase only, so we don't need to have such complicated levels. Okay, then now we're done with. We'll wait for a bit more for the. If you really want to design nicer levels, we will give about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But for my case, I will just create this level. So you can see from the game view that the tiles are already out already. Okay, so now let's add some obstacles into your world, and also the finish line so that we can end the game. Okay, so same thing, these spikes and flags, you can also create it as a tile map. But for this case, because we want our spikes to place at a certain awkward angles, like giving a small space for the player to jump. So you cannot put it as a tile map. If not, you snap to here. Okay, like that you have too much space for the player. So in order to be more dynamic, right? So we, instead of making this spike as a tile set, we will just drag it out as a spike like this. So basically how you do is you go under your asset folder, click on objects, you open it up. You can see there's a finish line, there's also the spike. So we just drag out the spikes. Yeah, you can eyeball for this one. So you just add spikes all over your level. So now we have a level that have spikes. Oh no, sorry. The last one should be the flag. Or you can put a spike in front of a flag, really up to you. Okay, yeah. So this would be a simple level. So the player will start somewhere here. Then you have to jump all the way until he reaches the flag. Okay. If he touches the spike, he dies. Okay, the dying part of this thing will be coding it later. So now you just place your little spikes all over the place first. So how to place a spike is you go on the art asset, go to objects, and find a spike and just drag it out. So the reason why we are not making it as a tile map is because you don't want to snap into the squares, because you want to make it like challenging for players, so giving like a little small space. Okay, now you also notice, right, your right left hand side, your hierarchy is starting to get filled up with like your spikes. So this is where you can create like a folder system. So this is called a parent and child object. So what we can do is I can group all the spikes together. So how do I do that is I'll create an empty game object, which is like an empty folder. So ensure that this empty folder, right, set to the position 0, 0, 0, because yeah, it's the worst space. You don't want to change anything. So this empty game object, ensure is 0, 0, 0. Then you can name it to spikes. Rename it to spikes. Okay, now you have your hierarchy. You have your spikes. Then what you can do is you can select this, all of them using a click and control or click shift click. Then you can select all of them. Then you can drag it under this parent object called spikes. So now they are under spikes. So this is basically like a folder system, so you can hide. Because if not, when you have more items, you get very messy on your hierarchy. So what I can do is I can just group everything under spikes and just close it. Okay, yeah. So hopefully we are done with this part. If you don't want to group it, it's also fine. But because if you have many spikes, you really clutter up your hierarchy. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Remember to put your flag also. Okay, now it's time to add our level is done. Now time to add our player. Okay, so now you can see under player spike, there's many different spikes. Due to the lack of time, we won't be going through how to animate the player so that he moves according to this one. But what we can do is we will just get one frame of him. So usually the frame that you want to put as a sample for your game, right, is the idle frame. Usually it's the idle 0 frame. So this is the most natural form that he will look like. Yeah, other form he will look like he's jumping or something like that. Okay, so we want to get the idle 0 frame out. Then now it's called idle 0, but you know that this is our player. So let's rename our idle 0 to player. So this is easier for you to tell what this game object is. So you can instantly tell this is your player. Okay, yeah, we're done with the player. So now we put the player a bit on top first. Okay, so we want to see if it's affected by physics or not. Okay, so now, right, you press play. He does nothing because he's just floating there. You can't control him because you don't have any player movement script. You don't have any physics attached to him, so he won't fall down. He won't fall, like, be affected by gravity or anything. So he'll just be like this. Okay, so now time to give him some life. So first we need to add some physics for him to get affected by real world physics like gravity. So how to make your sprite be affected by physics, right? Is yep, Wei Hing, thank you. Yep, that's a good reminder. Okay, so what he's saying is, let's say when I'm pressing play, right? Let's say I decided to mess around with the players. Now we are in the play mode. Now we decide to mess around with his position or something and make him scale very fat. Okay. But right, once you so whatever things you do while in play mode will not be saved. So as soon as you unplay, right, you automatically go back, revert back. So be careful, because when you are tweaking many settings, right, but you're in the play mode, you forget, then you have to redo all the settings again. So just be careful. I'll just show again. So when you press play, so when you do any changes to the inspector or any component, right? Let's say I messed it up damn badly. Okay, but once you unplay, it will automatically go back. So be careful. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Okay, now time to give some life to the player. So first thing first, we need to get him affected by gravity. So how to get affected by gravity? We're going to add this component called the rigid body component. So how to add component? You click on the player, ensure it's the player. You can check again by using the second tool and see the arrows appearing on the player. Okay, then you press add component. On the bottom, you type rigid body 2D. So we are making a 2D game, so we'll be using rigid body 2D. Okay, if you're using 3D, of course, you use the normal rigid body. Okay, now select this one. And now it's affected by gravity. So let's see what happens when I press play now. See, he drops down. Let's go back to our game view. The camera is not pointing properly. So I want the camera to point on the player. So what I can do is move the camera here. Okay, now when I press play, oh, it drops. Yeah, but the intended effect is to drop, but there's something that is wrong. It's not supposed to fall off the platform. It's supposed to stand on the platform, even if it falls down. Okay, so this is not intended behavior. So how do we fix it? Okay, so we need to add colliders. So colliders are like physical barriers. So you have a collider on your player itself, and you have a collider on this ground here. Then they will contact each other, allowing that ensures that the player don't fall through. So we have a collider here, and we have a collider on the player. Okay, so first we add the collider on the player first. So ensure your player selected again. Make sure it's not other items. Okay, you can check here by the name here on the inspector, the player. Then now we add a collider. So we can add different kind of colliders, but since our player here looks very boxy, so we're just going to add a box collider 2D. Ensure it's 2D. If it's 3D, it's not going to work for this game. Okay, because we are doing everything on the 2D plane. Okay, so ensure you select box collider 2D. Then if you go to the scene, right, you can see there's a little green boundary that has been drawn. So this is the collider box. So like your games that you play, like it's called the hitbox, basically. Yeah, 3D it will be like a 3D box, but for this one it's a 2D box. Okay, so you see it's a bit too big for our player. You have some white space, then you look weird. Okay, so what do? Is you click on this edit collider. So under the box collider 2D, there's this thing called the edit collider, which is this 3 boxes linked to each other. Okay, then now you see the little boxes appear. Once you click on it, previously there's nothing. When you click, there's little boxes appear, so you can drag like that. You click on the box and drag. And now he becomes slimmer, or the box collider becomes slimmer. So I want to make him even more slim because the outline's technically not supposed to be interacting. So be a bit slimmer. Like this should be fine. So you can eyeball this one. Okay, or you can use there's this thing called here the offset size of this thing. So basically when you're doing this, same as your transform or this thing, it's affecting it in real time. You can see the numbers changing. You can try to play around here, or you can just use this interactive tool and just resize it. Yeah. Okay, now we have the player now has the box collider. Press play. It still goes through the ground because the ground does not have a collider of its own. So now the ground also needs a collider. Okay, so now we go back to our ground, which is the tile map. So tile map contains all the ground objects. You can see if I move the tile map, see the entire ground move. Okay, so this tile map has all the platform items on it. So we also have to have a collider on it. So Unity is smart. You don't need to have multiple box collider. You don't need to go and slowly resize to the platform size. So because Unity knows that you're using a tile map, you can just instantly add this thing called the tile map collider 2D. So try clicking on it. See, it's automatically creates the green boxes for you. Unfortunately, this one you cannot adjust it. Yeah, so usually Unity will be able to help you. Usually Unity will be able to help you generate the boxes correctly. Okay. If it's not correct, usually you have to check your art asset. Usually there might be a pixel that you didn't erase, then Unity is detecting that pixel, then they have a weird box collider. Okay, but yeah, so what you do is you go to your grid, go to your tile map where all your tiles are, or the ground, the platform objects are. You click add component, add tile map collider 2D. So this will automatically create all the green boxes for you. Okay, now we press play. Yeah, see, the player does not fall through the platform anymore. Now he's affected by physics, and he's colliding properly with the objects that he's supposed to collide with. So which is the ground. Okay. Give a bit of time to if anybody is still doing their part. So what we did, recap what we did is we added a rigid body, didn't touch any settings yet. We added a box collider, ensure the box collider is like fit properly to him. Then on the tile map, we added the tile map collider 2D. And we just wait. Okay, now it's affected by gravity and then also colliding. Okay, so now I think there's no question. So we will show you there are some settings that we have to change here. Okay, so first I will show you one thing. So let me scale it, sorry. Let me rotate my little player a bit to like that. See, when you do this, the player will topple down like that. Okay, so if you are doing a physics-based game, right, it's okay. But because this is a platformer, we don't need physics-based like toppling down or this thing because we want our player to always be upright. Okay, so no matter how the player interact with the platform in a weird angle, we would not want the player to topple. So once the player topple, all your controls will go haywire. Yeah, so we wouldn't want the player to topple. So what we do is we go under rigid body, constraint. So we're going to freeze the Z rotation because you see the one that is toppling down is the Z rotation. Okay, so ensure that the Z rotation is freezed. So that means, let's say even if I'm angled in such a weird way, right, he will never topple. He will just stay like that. Yeah, but of course we want it to be upright. So put it to 0. So no matter how at a weird angle he interact with the platform, he will never topple down. He will stay upright, which is what we want. Okay, so what we do is go under rigid body, freeze the Z rotation. Okay, now we are done with the player, the physics part of the player. So now we need to add the movement. Okay, so movement, there's two ways to add. So movement is used using script. So I have written the script already, but I'll explain to you what the script is doing. Usually all this script and stuff, if you look at the channels that I have provided in the top, so usually they will explain to you how the entire, like, let's say if you're doing a top-down dungeon crawler, they will have an entire series for you to follow along. So this will cover all the how to code, what kind of code process to call all these things. So you can look at there, but because this one workshop, so we not have much time, so we will just use my pre-made script. Then I'll explain to you what the script does. Then we will just go along with it. Okay, so we go under script. You can see our player menu, player controller, and player interaction. So the first, now we want to control the player. So we're using the player controller script. So there's two ways to add a script component to a game object. You can either drag and drop. Okay, there's one way. I remove. Okay, you can drag and drop. Or you can press add component, same way as you add your widget body and box collider, but you can search your script. So player, controller, interaction, quick handler. Yeah, see all the scripts. So this one is a pre-made script. So this one is we're not going to touch. So we're going to touch player controller and player interaction. Yes, Unity only supports C# script. If I'm not wrong, last time it used to support JS, but that was a very long time ago. Okay, yeah. Okay, now we have added the player controller script. Okay, now those who have Visual Studios, please try to right-click and edit script, but sometimes you cannot open it immediately. So then you need to go and find your editor or your code editor. So how to do is go under References. Yeah, correct. So under Edit, References. So external script editor, you change it to your Visual Studio version that you want to use. So if you really can't find it, you press browse, then you find your Visual Studio. So for example, let's say I just installed my Visual Studio 2022. So I right click, open file location, and open file location again. And I'll get this folder. Then we will go to the installation folder of the Visual Studio. The exe file that we are looking to link with Unity is this dev.env. Yeah, so we just copy this one. Click here. Open. Dev.env. Then automatically add for you the Visual Studio Community 2022. Yeah. Okay, so this is how you put your Visual Studio. Sometimes it automatically detect for you, but if you really cannot open a file, this is a way to do it. Okay, so let's look at what our player script is doing. So edit script. So this is open Visual Studio. Okay, this might seem a bit daunting, but we explain to it one by one. So, okay, so these are all the top ones are basically variables. Okay, let me close this first. Okay, are variables that to affect the character or the players directly, like the speed, jump force, player radius. So player radius is basically checking if the player has landed, basically. So I set it as a small float point so that I want to check at directly the feet if he touches the ground. So this one we'll go through it later. Okay, so direction is a private direction because this is to get the key. So when you get the key input from the user, you save it in this float called direction. We will not go into the specifics of the programming, but I just go through what each script is doing. Yeah. So this one will save the direction. So when you press the A key, it will have a value of -1. When you press the D key, which is the right key, you have a value of 1. When you press the arrow left, we will have -1, arrow right, have +1. So we want to save this into the direction variable. Okay, so this is grounded. This is just to check if the player is grounded. So only if the player is grounded, if he's on the floor, then he can jump. If not, he can infinitely jump. So this is the behavior that we want to stop. That's why we have this one and the player feet radius. Okay, so other stuff that we're going to have is the transform. So transform is basically this thing, your transform. So I want to get the location of the player feet. So I need to link the transform here. So later we'll show you how to link all the items together. Then layer mask. Okay, this one also we go through later. We're checking which layer is the ground because we only want to check, update the is grounded if it's only touching the ground layer. Other layer we don't care if you touch. If you touch the spikes, we don't want it to be grounded, of course. Then the player can jump out of the spike. We don't want that. So only when you're touching the ground layer, then we will update the is grounded and we can jump again. Okay, then this is this is to link to the widget body, because we are going to be changing the velocity of the player directly. So you can see from here in widget body, you have these things that you cannot change. We see is grayed out. You can only change it in script. So things like velocity or this thing will be directly affecting the velocity of the player to move him left and right on the x-axis, and change the y velocity to move him on the up and down. Yeah, okay. I think there's Wei Heng has provided the link for the script. Please just download it. Yeah. So it's a player controller script and attach it to the player. Yeah. So now we'll be directly affecting the velocity x to move left and right, velocity y to jump. Okay, that's why we need a reference to the widget body. Okay, so when you create let me create a sample script. So this is a blank script. So when you have a sample script, right, you just start like this. So you have something called the start and the update. So start is when you press, when the game start, right, this will run once no matter what. Whereas this one will keep running per frame. Okay, so for our player controller, we want to get the reference to the widget body one time only. So this is player widget body, get component, the widget body 2D. So this is to get the reference for left, right movement and jumping. So this is only called once. Okay, because we only want to get reference once. Okay, now next is the update. So update is where we check all our user input, do all our physics calculation, do all our movement, all this thing. Okay, so first things first, we need to have the direction from the axis, get axis horizontal. So horizontal is basically your A and D left and right keys. So this is your get axis horizontal. Okay, how to check which axis to get or which key to find? So what we can do is we can go to okay, we can go to file. Sorry, we can go to edit, project settings. Then this will bring up this one. You can see the input manager. You can see all the axes that we have. So basically, they will tell you what keys are bind to the horizontal. So you can see that the horizontal, the name is horizontal. The name is cap sensitive also. Then the buttons that are bound, negative, which is the left side. So when you click it, it becomes -1. It's the left key, right key, alternative negative, and alternative positive is the A and D key. Okay, then this will also, let's say if you're using a controller, this will also automatically do the controller for you. Vertical is for vertical movement. We have other buttons that usually you use for games. Okay, like a fire button or this thing. Okay, yeah, so for this one, we'll be using the horizontal as well as the jump. So jump is, the name is jump, and the positive button is the space, because there's no negative jump. Okay, so positive button is a space. And yeah, that's all we need to know. Okay. Okay, so this will get a bit confusing. So direction, we get the input from the axis horizontal. So when I press the A key, I'll get -1. When I press the D key, I'll get +1. So I'll save it in this direction. So if not equals to 0, that means when is it 0? It is 0 when I don't press anything. Because when I press left or right, it will become -1 or 1. Okay, so if it's not 0, I want to move the player. Okay, so we just update the player velocity because this is a 2D space, so it's a vector 2, so x and y axis. So we want to move at the direction times the speed. So the speed is we can declare how fast, how slow we want it to be. So this is the vector 2 speed. Then the y is not going to be affected because left and right does not affect the y. So what this is doing is player rb.velocity.y means I'm just getting the current velocity. Cool, I don't want to change anything. So that's why I'm using this one. So the only thing that will be affected is this guy. Okay, the x-axis. Okay, then else, that means if I'm not moving anything, right, I want to instantly set the velocity of x to 0 because I don't want the player to slide. So because velocity is like linear, it's like a bit like linear. So if you don't set it to 0, right, you might have a little bit of, you might move a bit. It might cause you to fall off the platform, those kind of thing. So that's why I instantly set it to 0. And of course, same thing. I'm not going to touch the y-axis because this is we are controlling the left and right movement. So y-axis is same. Okay, then the next code is to character to face the correct direction. Okay, this one is a quick fix or workaround. You can either make the player look at the correct direction by using this local scale, because if you see here, I click on player. If I put this to 1, it's facing the right. If I change it to -1, it faces the left. So this is like a quick fix. Another way you can do this is by updating the sprite itself. So that means your artist will have to have a left and right sprite. Then you update it using the animator. Okay, but for this case, since you're not touching animation, we will just directly touch the local scale to transform it left and right. So that means if the direction is more than 0, that means I'm pressing the D key going to the right. So that means, see, this guy is initially facing the right and it's 1. So we want it to be 1. Then if its direction is moving left, you want to change this to -1. That's all. So you're just making sure the player faces the correct direction when we press the keys. Okay, as same thing, since this is asking for a vector tree, because we have x, y, and z, as you can see here, x, y, and z, the only thing we want to touch is the x. So the same as how we do the velocity, we will just take the reference, the current value. I'm not going to change anything. Okay, so current value of y, current value of z, don't touch. Then we only need to update the front one, the x-axis. Okay, the last two is to check if the player is grounded. Okay, so how does player jump? So player jump is when you have the input button called jump, then he jump. But that also means that he can jump infinitely if you don't check if he's landed on the ground already. So we have this thing called is grounded to check. So there's many ways to check if your player is grounded. This is just one of the ways. So another way is you can create another box collider. Big one, the small one. You can put it at his feet. You can make it very small, and you can check the box collider also. You can do this way also. Okay, you have multiple hitboxes for different part of the body. Or this one is a simple way. So basically what it does is we're using the built-in physics 2D of Unity, and we just draw a small little circle at the feet. Okay, then this overlapping circle, right, will return back was true or false if the overlapping circle touches the specific layer. So this is just a way to check if it's grounded. So what it does is I draw a little circle at where the position of the player feet at, and how big you want this circle to check, and what is the layer you want to check. So this is what it's doing. So as long as you touches, grounded will become true. So this means that if the grounded is true, okay, that means if you press the jump button and the player can jump, means he's grounded, then you jump. So same thing as this one, instead of updating the x-axis, you update the y-axis. Okay, so x-axis remains as the same. Player velocity dot, I call back the current x-axis, then I just change the y to the jump force. Okay, yeah, so this is the player controller script. So now let's make it work. Okay, if you press play now, it will show you some error, because you see here, there are some variables that I make it available for the designers. Let's say if you want your designers to tweak around your speed, jump force, all these things, you can just put it as a public. That means it will appear on your inspector. So things that you want your designer to touch, like, because sometimes you maybe want to, by changing the speed, you can change the how the player behaves, how the game actually plays. So you can leave some fields for your designer to play around with. Okay, so now we have one field that is missing something, and actually we have two. Okay, so we need to get the location of the player feet. Okay, so what we do is we create a reference to his feet for him. So same thing as how you do your what do you call it? Folder, right? To get the spikes. So what you can do is you can create a little empty game object, and we just name it the feet. Okay, then you go to the move tool and make sure it's right at the feet. Ta-da. So it's just empty. It doesn't contain anything, but it's just a reference to where the feed should be. So later, I'll just put the feed here, somewhere here. Okay, so what you do is you go under player, create an empty object, then you name it feed, then you drag it down to the feed using the move tool. Okay, now the player knows that. Now we know where the feed is. Then we can just drag the feed here. Okay, now you have to make sure that your script is in frame. Then your feed, drag it into the player feed, then automatically you will snap here. So player feed, transform. Ground layer, nothing. Okay, now we have the reference of the player feed. Now we need to have the ground layer. Okay, you see now we don't have a ground layer yet. So we have to create a layer for the ground. Because Unity has the default layers, but they don't have ground. So we can add our own layer. Okay, so we add in a new user layer called. Then once you're done, you click back to the player. Now you have your ground here already. So you just select ground. Okay. So first things, you need to add a feed. Move it down a bit. Now you need to have the ground layer. So ground layer is actually not pre-made. So you have to go all the way up under the layer, add a layer, call it ground. Okay. Let's try to play the game. You have some issues. It's expected. So now I can move left and right. Okay. Yeah, but I can't jump. If you notice, if you press your space, it's not working. Because this ground or the platform is not set to the ground layer yet. So that means the is grounded will never become true. That means you can never jump. So you need to ensure that this thing or this platform has been set to the correct layer. So you go back to your tile map, which is your platforms, set the layer to ground. Okay, try pressing play again. You can jump already. Okay, now you realize that your jump is a bit too small or too tiny, then you'll not be able to cross the platform. So this is where the variables that you let people tweak comes in. So let's try changing it to 5. Okay, I like this jump better. Okay, cool. Okay, yep, we will be using a speed of 5 and a jump force of 5. Yep, hopefully everybody is here already. So now we can move the player, we can jump. Okay, so how to create a ground layer again is we go to layers all the way on top. So all the game objects, right, we have this thing called the tag layer. So yeah, so we go to our tile map, we select the ground layer. So usually it's not by in default, so we need to add layer, then rename it to ground. Okay, your player cannot jump. Okay, let's see again. Okay, so there's 2 reasons why your player might not be able to jump. Okay, so let's go through again. So first, we need to have a reference to the feed. So we need to know where the feed of the player is. So we create a game object, empty game object, and call it feed. Okay, let's delete the old feed. Okay, now the feed is at the center of the player, which is not what we want. So we want to be at the bottom of the player. So we drag down using the move tool to the feed. Okay, this might be one of the issues that you cannot jump. Then now you need to see it's missing the feed. So I need to drag the feed in here. So now is the feed is here. Okay, then another thing is because we are checking the layer, which layer then we can jump. Okay, so we need to have the ground layer. Okay, then the ground layer also must be set on the tile map itself, which is the platform. Tile map contains all the platform. As you can see, I double click, you see all the green boxes. Yeah. So we need to make sure that the tile map is set to the ground layer as well. So once these 2 conditions is done, your player can jump already. Okay, and also another reason you might be having this is you may accidentally set the jump force to 0, then you cannot jump also. Yeah, you cannot jump. So ensure your jump force is not is a positive number. Or how to get the players on arrow sprite? Okay, then it's the move tool. So on top of the hierarchy, there'll be a hand tool. Then the second tool is called move. Yeah, you click on this, then you have the arrows already. Okay, yeah, so we can jump already. No, we don't need to set the layer for the feed. We just need to set the layer for the ground. The feed is just default layer because we are checking the ground, not the feed. So the feed is just like an empty object, right? That just gives you the reference to the feed, which is the Y position, because I just want the Y position. Because if you use the player position, right, you see the reference is at the center of the player, which is not the feed. So I want to get that feed. So that's why I create a new game object and put it at the where the feed should be. Space bar to jump. No, the player itself is a default layer. The feed is also a default layer. The only one that is at the ground layer should be your tile map or your platform. Okay, so if you want it to be less confusing, right, I can rename this tile map to tile map platform. Okay, so your tile map platform should have the layer set to ground, where your player and your feed all is set to default layer, because we don't want to check. We just want to check the ground layer like that. It will be uploaded to our NUS GDG YouTube channel. Then we will share in the Discord, the Game Jam Discord after the session. Yeah, you can also do that. You can also change the reference point of the player sprite. Of course, you can do a lot. You can do different things. But the thing is, you can see because of how the sprite is set up, right? The reference point is at the center of the player. That's why we don't use this one. So this one is a bit out of topic, but if you go to your sprites, I think you can change the pivot point. Yeah, so you can make it at the bottom or something. But yeah, I will not be going through this one. Yeah, so for this one, we will just be creating a little feed reference and do it. Or you can also hard code, technically not hard code. You can also reference to the player and then minus the y-axis so that it reach the feed. But yeah, there'll be in code. So the easiest way is to create a little reference to the feed. Then we just link it to the feed. Then now we know where the feed is, which is here. Then Unity will draw a little circle here of 0.2. Then as long as the circle touches this ground, which is the ground layer. So, sorry. So when the player feed, right, draws a little circle and touches this ground layer, then it will say I can jump already. Yeah, so that's what Unity is doing. Player controller script. This is the player controller script. It's attached to the player and here on the ground layer is ground. The ground layer, you set it to ground. If you cannot find the ground layer, you have to create the ground layer because it's not created by default. Okay, have you ensured that you have rigid body on your player, box collider on your player, and make sure the jump force is not 0, and also the player feet at the correct position, and have the ground layer, and set your platform. If you double click, you should see all the green boxes for this one. That means this is your place where the ground is. Then make sure the layer is set to ground. Then you should be able to jump. So what does the ground layer do? The ground layer is just a physics layer, right? So that to check collision between layers. So basically what this physics 2D.overlap circle does is it just checks if there's a collision between this position and the ground layer, then it just says true or false, that's all. So layering is this layering up here is physics layers. Yeah, there's another layer called the sorting layer. This one has to see which sprites are in front, which sprites are the back. We're not going to touch this. Yeah, for this layer up here is the way to group your game objects. So maybe you have players all on the player layer or something like that. It's like a grouping mechanism, but also can use for physics calculation. Yeah, for now we use it as layer. For now we just create a ground layer and just make our tile map to the ground. Yeah, so how does Unity know which ground to check, right? Because I can also name it anything. I can name it not ground, I can name it something else. So I can name it ABCD. But as long as in my player controller script, I'm also checking the ABCD layer, it will still work. Yeah, so Unity does not automatically know what is ground or this thing. It's just like a name for you to group your things together. So only when you're at the script itself, you have to check the correct layer that you want to check. For our case, we have to create a layer called ground, and we just check our layer ground. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we'll just see if his jumping is okay already. Then you can see his jumps properly. Cool. And now one thing you might notice that the player can go out of the screen, which is the game view, because we don't have a player, we don't have the camera following the player. The camera is independent. So yeah, we want our player to follow. Because if you don't have this view, right, I cannot tell where the player is going. If it's out of view, it's gone already. Okay, so now we want the camera to follow the player. So how to do this? There are script ways to do it, but a very, very simple way is you just make the camera the child of the player. So I just basically move the main camera to the player. Okay. Once you've done this, we set the main camera position to 0, 0. The z-axis, just leave it be. So the x and y, set it to 0, 0. So that means it will be the camera will be at the middle of the player. Then when I press play, you see the camera will follow along. Yep. Ta-da. Okay, yeah. So this is a simple way to make your camera follow you. Then you can see the entire map now. So you can move around the platform. Okay, now you can reach that point. That's all. Okay, so now we're done with camera. Just wait a bit more, see if anybody needs help with the camera. So we are recap again. So the camera is outside at first. So that means it will not follow the player. So I can walk out of the camera zone and the camera can't see me anymore. Okay, or to make the camera follow you, you can simply make the camera the child of the player and then set its position to 0 and 0. And now the camera is following because it's updating according to the parent's transform. So you can see here it's moving. Move. Okay, yeah, do this step first. Okay, yeah, so now we're going to do the part where we're going to die, and not we're going to die, as in like we're going to add obstacles, or the obstacles will make the player die, and falling off the map make the player die. Okay, yeah, so let's do that. So what we need to have is another script. This script is now called the player interaction script. So same thing, you can drag and drop the script to here, or you can add component, then find the player interaction script. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at the player interaction script. I'll just go through it very, very briefly. So what the player interaction script is doing is, you just check so this is a collider. So we are checking collision between stuff. So later we will give it a tag. You can see just now the layer and tag here. So we'll give the different items a different tag. So for the spikes, we'll give it a tag called def. For the flag, we'll give it a tag called finish. Then for the coins, we'll give it a tag called coin. Okay, yeah, so this is how we will handle the player interaction in the game. Okay, so now if you press, now nothing will happen, it will throw an error because the score text is not there, but I think it still works. Let's try. Yeah, okay, it still works. Okay, but now the player is not dying for some reason, even though I'm touching the spikes, because I haven't set up the spikes to be an obstacle yet, or a dev object yet. So what we need to do is we need to go under spike, ensure the tag is set to def. But you can see here, we don't have the tag called def. You have to create it again as always. So what you do is you click on one of the spikes, click on tag, add tag, and name it def. Add on the plus button, then add a new tag called def. So now you can put it here, def. So we have a tag called def. Okay, so we want to change all the tags of the spikes together. You can select all and change it to def. Okay, now let's try to play again. You'll notice the players still don't die because it's not colliding with anything. Because unlike the player and the ground, we don't have a box collider, we don't have any colliders. So the game doesn't know that this is the object that you're supposed to collide with. Okay, you click on it, there's no green outline or anything like that. So this means there's no like colliders. Okay, so how to add a collider? We select all of them again. We add a collider. So this is a weird shape. So we don't have a thing called triangle collider. So we just add we see all the colliders is available. So which one that I think is best suited is the polygon. So polygon, you can add multiple edges. Okay, so I add the polygon collider. You see, it automatically created a 3-point polygon for me as a collider. You don't need to even specify the points because Unity is smart enough to guess that this spike is a triangle spike. So what you do is, I'll repeat again, is you select all the spikes, make sure the tag is def, don't have the tag, create a def tag. Then you add component, polygon collider, it will automatically do for you, you don't need to do anything. Okay. Now you can see that the player collides with these spikes properly already, which is what we want. Okay, but he's still not dying. Because we are checking a different kind of collision. We're checking a trigger collision. So there's two kind of collision. So on collider, enter. So on collision, enter is the normal collision. So trigger. So what does trigger mean? Trigger means there's a collider there, but you can pass through the collider. So this one, because I want to pass through the spikes, because it doesn't matter, because I'm going to restart the game anyway, because I don't want the player to like bounce off the spikes or anything. So I just want the player to pass through, but I will still want to register the collision in the script because I want to know that if he touches the spike, he's going to die. So I have to set the collision type to a trigger collision. So how do we do it? Is we go to the spikes, make sure all of them are selected again. Select the is trigger. Okay, so is trigger means now it's a trigger collider. So you will see that the player now goes through the thing, but he will die, so you can't see it. But let's say if I turn off this player interaction script for now, I remove you don't need to follow for this part. Yeah, you can see this, you can go through the thing. But then in the script, they will know that the player has collided with the spike. Then let's say if I change the spike back to a normal collider, see, the player will be affected. You can run through. Yeah, for our game, we want it to be a trigger collider, so we add it to trigger. Okay, now let's add back the player script, player interaction script. Okay, so the player interaction script. So when you hit the def tag, it just restart the level. So this is a scene manager, load scene. So we get the name of the current scene. So we are just calling and we are just reloading the scene basically. Okay, so this is to die. Then this is finish. So what is finish? So finish, what we're going to do is we're going to load the next level. So scene manager.load scene.get active scene. So this is the current scene index, then you +1. This is to load. We will go through more of this one later. Then coin is you just add the score. Okay, so let's try. So let's try to play the game. Yeah, you instantly die if you touch the thing. Okay, so we might want to make lesser spikes so we can finish the game. Delete spikes that are pesky. Yeah. Okay, now we can jump. Make sure you can jump the correct jump height or this thing. Yeah, so it's still quite hard. Okay, but now you notice that if you drop down, you don't die instantly. Yeah, the game will never end. Okay, so because you need like a catch or invisible wall at the bottom to tell that this is the death zone, or something like lava or whatever you want to put at the bottom. For our case, we're going to put like an empty game object that has the death tag at the bottom, just to simulate that there's the death zone here, so that we can restart the game when the person hit the death. Okay, so what we're going to do is create an empty game object. Going to name it as death zone. Okay, now the death zone, we're going to name it. We're going to tag it as the death tag. And obviously, it's not going to work because there's no collider in it. So we add a collider. Okay, we have a box collider. There's an invisible box collider. And make sure it's set to trigger. So the settings is basically same as your spikes. Okay, so once you do this simple setting, once the player falls off, right, and it touches this invisible zone, you can see from here, it restarts the game. Yeah, so that is the main gameplay loop done. For the sake of the time, we will not be adding the coins, but then we'll go through on how to make the UI so that you can make a complete game. Okay, so we'll be making our menus. We'll be learning more about buttons and UIs now. So before we go to that part, anybody still stuck making the game? So this is our complete gameplay loop already. So our objective is to avoid the spikes and go to the flag and don't fall down. How to expand the death zone? Okay, so death zone is a game of an empty game object. So we add okay, we take out the collider first. So we need to, why not I just delete everything? So create an empty game object, name it death zone. You can name it whatever you want. The only thing important is you need to make sure the tag is death. Then you need to add a box collider 2D, not 3D, 2D. Then you see this little green box. So how we adjust for the player just now, you click on the three rectangular buttons. Then you see that the little dots appear, right? So you just expand it. Click on it, expand it. So now we have a death zone. Okay, now you drop here. It's not dying yet because this is a normal collider. And you see it's interacting with it. So I don't want to interact, but I just wanted to trigger the code. So I just put it is trigger. Oops, death. Yeah, that's all. Okay, now you keep dying. Okay, now this is the main gameplay loop done. Yeah, so for the infinite jumping, make sure your ground layer is set. Make sure your feet is at the correct area. And make sure that the player is also not the ground. Because if the player is ground, you can also infinitely jump. Because the feet is in the player itself. So that means you check the player itself. So the player, please set the layer to default. The feet also, please set the layer to default. Only the platform should be set to the layer ground. That's how you not jump infinitely. Okay, yeah. Any more questions for this one? Now we're done with the main gameplay loop. Or if you need me to repeat anything, give it about 1-2 minutes, then I'll start for the UI part. Then we have a finished game. Yeah, with a main menu, a few levels. I'll tell you how to duplicate this level also. Then you can just change a little bit, then it will become a next level already. Yeah, the player is not supposed to stick to tiles. So this is Okay. Since many of you sometimes you will not get this bug, but if you place the tiles at the correct area, but this is just how if you are playing with velocity and if you're using rigid body to move, right, it's going to stick because there's friction. So we need to eliminate friction. So there's a very easy fix for this. So if you don't want your player to get stuck to tiles, so we need to add so if you go to our tiles, right, there's a tile map collider. There's a material here called the physics material. So without the physics material, right, it will have friction on. So once so how do you replicate this issue, right? Is I think most of you can replicate this. So if you go this and you just run into the thing, right, and you hold the button, you don't let go, you will get stuck to the wall. Only when you let go, then you drop down. Yeah, because there's friction. Okay, so we have to remove the friction. Okay, so yeah, you found the little bugs. So usually when you find this kind of thing, you can Google and people will tell you how to solve this. Yeah, it's a very common one because we are using the physics to move the player. Okay, there's another way to move the player is you directly adjust the transform to move. But for now, for our project, we are using velocity to move. That's why physics is in play. That's why we are stuck to walls. So how do we solve this is we need to create a physics material that has zero friction and add it to the platforms. So how we do this is we go back to our assets. So we go to our assets, right click, press create, physics material. No, this is the wrong physics material. You're supposed to go under 2D and find the physics material 2D. Okay, so it's create 2D, physics material 2D, and we see this little ball with the thing here. Now name it slippery or a slip. Okay. So this will be a slippery material we're going to apply. So you see a friction here, we're going to set it to 0. So now we have a physics material that has a friction of 0. We simply just need to add this onto the tile map collider. We go back to our tile map where we have the platforms, then go under material. You drag it to material like it, slip, or you can press this circle button here to find the available physics material. Because we only have one, so we can just select this one. Okay, make sure that the material is a physics material 2D. When you create, there's another one down here, which is the 3D one. We don't want this. So we go under 2D, physics material 2D. Then ensure the friction is 0. Okay, then we'll add it to the tile map collider. So now it's going to be slippery. So when I play, see, it will never get stuck anymore. Even though I'm holding the button, it will still go off. Ta-da. Yeah, there's a quick fix. Okay, yeah, now we have fixed that. Okay, if you want friction, right, you can have multiple ways to use friction. Let's say you want to have a wall jump system. Definitely you don't add this lah. Then you can do a wall jump system using that slippery friction property. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now we have the entire gameplay loop done and also fix some issues, a little bit of bugs here and there. So I think we can go on to the next part, which is the UI, and we are wrapping up for the day already. Okay. So this is your level 1. So make sure you go to you save it first, and then you rename your scene to a level 1. Reload. Okay, make sure you save it first. Then you go under scene. There should be called sample scene or something. Then you rename it to level 1. So this will be my level 1 scene. Okay, now we're gonna duplicate a level 2. So Control D, you make it a duplicate. So level 1, 1. So this one will be your level 2. Okay, so why we duplicate instead of making a new one? Because we can just move around the platforms. You don't need to change much. Rather than create a new one, then you need to set up all the players again, everything. So by doing this, you have a second level. You double click and make sure that on the name here on top is updated to level 2. So you're not updating the wrong level. So this is now your level 2. So now you all can don't change, but I'll make a minor adjustment so I can have a visual representation that is a different level. Yeah, so I'm going to move this down a bit. Then I'm going to move all of them to flat. This will be my level 2, just a flat ground. For some reason, my level 2 is easier than my level 1. Never mind. So place all the specs properly at the correct places. Okay, then the last one is the flag. Where's my flag? Oh, finish. How do you duplicate? You make sure you save your level 1 first, Control S or save, then press Control D, or yeah, you can. That's the only way is to press Control D or Command D for Mac. Then you have a new level called level 1.1. Then you rename it by right-clicking rename it level 2. Then you click on level 2, ensure that the name on top here changed to level 2. So that is telling you that you're on the correct level. Or you can see from your hierarchy here. See, when I click level 1, the hierarchy will say level 1. When I click level 2, you say level 2. So make sure it's in level 2. Oh yeah, correct. we actually can't finish the game because our flag doesn't have a collider. Yep, my bad. I forgot about that. So the flag, you need to have a box collider. Yeah, because I didn't notice that because I don't have another level to test. So now that you have another level to test, we know that the flag is not working. Okay, so now we need to add a box collider on the flag. Make sure it's not too fat again, because now this is too big of a collider. Make it smaller by clicking on this 3 dot thing again. And now, because your code, right, is checking for this tag called finish. So this is a pre-built tag, so I can just select here finish. Okay, so now my flag can go to the next level, which is what we want. Then ensure you save. And then you go to level 2 and make sure your flag also here is also have a box collider. And also change the tag to finish. Okay, so now recap. You need to go to your flag. After you created your 2 levels, go to your level 1 first, go to your flag, ensure that the tag is finished. Then add a box collider, ensure that the collider is not too fat, and you fit in the correct box sizing. And then you select trigger, because the flag also I don't want to interact with the player. I just want it to know the player pass through and go to the next level. Okay, so press each trigger and save. Go to your second one, do the exact same thing. Tag finish, box collider 2D. Make sure it fits in the box properly nicely, and press each trigger. Okay, now you go to the next level already. Okay, save. Okay, yeah. We will not test this first because of the time. So now we will do the UI. So if anybody is still doing, let me know. Yeah, so we go on the UI. So UI, we're not going to duplicate the game scenes because I don't want any of the game stuff in my UI. I just want a clean, simple UI. So what I do is I create a new scene. So I name this one main menu. Okay, so double click on this, you see it's a blank one. Main menu, blank. Okay, now this is what we want. So we will have a main menu. Main menu, we need to have the UI component. So these are all the UI stuff that you're going to be doing today. So UI, we want a simple panel. Okay, so we have a panel. There's a bit of a grayish tint on top of it. Then you can see the panel, right, has all these colors, all these things we can change. So I want it to be a black color, and I want the alpha to be a bit lesser. Because of this is my UI. Okay, then we have to ensure, right, the scaling is correct, because when you have different monitor size, you will mess up the scaling if you don't press scale with size. So what we do first, right, before we do anything, now it's in free aspect mode. Make sure you set it to your monitor, your current monitor, the resolution. Okay, I'm going to use the WebGL. I'm going to use the 1080p. So 1920 by 1080. So that means even now you resize, right? You see the camera will always have the fixed shape. Whereas just now, when you press free aspect, the camera will adjust according to how you reshape the game. Okay, now we want it to fix to 1080p as our reference. Then we go under, so we need to create a panel first. So when you create a panel, under UI, panel, it automatically create this thing called the canvas. So the canvas is where it holds all the UI objects. So we need to make sure that canvas scaler is scaling with the screen size. So we press screen size scale, then our reference resolution is 1920 by 1080. Okay. Yeah. So now all your UI elements will scale properly. Okay, now we need to add a text and a button because we just want to have the name. You can add a UI, you can add UI, you can add images or whatever to make or beautify your main menu. But for this one, we're just going to add a text. Simply add a text like this. And also we're going to add a UI, we're going to add a button. Okay, so now we have a two object called text and button. Okay, same thing. You go onto your one, you can move using the move tool again. So I'll move the text up here a bit. Okay. Make sure it's centered. So it looks kind of centered, right? Yeah, like that. Then your button will bottom. Okay. Then the panel. Yeah, the panel, we can also adjust it to scale nicely. So I want the panel to be like a bit thinner. Yeah, so it will look like this. Okay, now you can see that the text is too small for the panel and the entire thing. So we're going to increase the text size. Change it to maybe 50. Okay. You have to make sure the text, you have to expand the text using the rect tool, RECT tool. There you can see the text appearing. So now it's on a blue background on black text, so it's very hard to see. So we're going to change it to white. Okay, we can even increase the font size even more. Let's say 780. So put it to the middle and the middle. And you can move it to the middle by aligning. There's a guides for you to align. This will be your new text. Then change it to your game title. And your button. Also too small. So using the rect tool on top here, open up the button. A bit more. Put it down here. Make sure it's centered. The text also in the button. In the button, you will see there's an embedded text here. You need to make it bigger also. So you're gonna change it to 70. So button, you're gonna change it to start. Okay, now we have a main menu working. Okay, when you press play, you can see when I hover over the, I can click on this button, but it's just not doing anything for now. Okay, of course, the buttons, you can design it nicely. The background of the button can change, all these things. Yeah, but now we're just going to make sure that the button goes to the next level. Okay, so first you need to do is, you need to select your build settings. Scenes in build. So you can see here that only your level 1 is in the build. So your main menu and your level 2 is not in the build. So that means you need to make sure that all of them are in the build so that you can transition between them using a script or using your buttons and stuff. Okay, so when you do it, you need to drag in the main menu and you drag in the level 2. So we can see here the numbers are 0, 1, and 2. So this is the build index. So logically, your menu will be on top, followed by level 1, 2, then your thank you page or something like that. Okay. Close. So in order to do this, build setting, main menu, level 1, level 2. How to add them? You just drag from your scenes in your asset folder into the build. And we can reshuffle it also. So our order now is supposed to be main menu, level 1, level 2. Okay, now we can add the button behavior. So the button behavior is all in the menu script. So menu script, very simple. I have a public function. It's called the start button. So what a start button basically does is it just loads the next scene. It's same as the script previously. And the main menu button is go back to the main menu, which is the 0 index, because we can see from here, the 0 index. Yep. Okay. So what we do is we have to move this menu script into our canvas because our canvas holds all the UI elements. So we just move the canvas, the menu script to the canvas. You can drag or you can also search from here, same thing. Okay. Now we have the canvas and has the menu script. This menu script doesn't have anything exposed and you don't need to do anything. So now what you need to do is you need to go to the button. You click on the button. You scroll down a bit under the button behavior or this thing. You can see you can change the image and everything, the highlight color or this thing. But what we are interested is on the on click. So it means when you click, you're supposed to do something, but now it's doing nothing. So what we do is we press add. Okay, now it's going to ask you an object. So what you're going to do, right, is you're going to put the canvas inside here. See? And the canvas has this thing called the menu, the script that you added. So basically you can add any game object, but you have for this case, since our menu script is on the canvas, we add the canvas here like this. You can either drag and drop the canvas like this, or you can click on here and find the canvas. And then the function we want to find, right, is the start button. So I'll do under menu, start. So menu is our script. The function that we publicly make it available to see is the start button. So when you press play, ta-da, it goes to the next level. So this will be the main menu. And then, since we already arranged all the builds nicely, if I finish this level, I should go to the next level automatically. Okay, which is the linear level that I make, level 2. Okay, so now how to change button and text. So when you create a button, you can resize it using the vec tool. So under the button, there's a little text. Because the button is a parent, and there's a child, there's a little text here. So this is how you change the size. Okay, so now we are almost done. We just need a thank you page. Then we will be done already. So we have a main menu, the levels in the middle, your thank you page, and then your thank you page go back to the main menu. So now your main menu is what we want to duplicate because it's basically a text and the button, which we will also want for the thank you page. Yeah. So duplicate is a very powerful tool here. So I rename this main menu to thank you. Okay, so thank you page. You double click. You ensure you save the main menu. Okay, see now, because I duplicated the thank you without saving the main menu, I didn't have all the changes of the main menu. Okay, yeah, so you have to save first before you duplicate. So yeah, so now this one nothing, so we have to delete this away. Let's duplicate back again, Control D. Rename it to thank you page. Okay, hopefully now it works. Okay, now we have another thank you page for some reason, so we delete it away. So now after you duplicate the main menu, we have a thank you page. That's exactly the same as the thank you main menu. But then you can see from the hierarchy the thank you page. So we just need to change the text from game title to thank you. Okay, then because it's cut off, so we need to make sure everything is big enough. Okay, this one we start from the top. Then you can also add your credits. So coder, C, artist, okay, music. Yes. Then the art, you have to make sure you credit the owner. Okay, so we go on, we make sure we get the name of the art asset and the owner name. So back to here, back to this guy. So we just copy this by Go Metal. Okay, they are too big. Now we just make the size smaller. Okay, then now we have the button. Instead of starting the new game, we're going to go back to the main menu. So this one, I change the text to main menu. Then you see the button now is still referencing to the start button, which is not what we want. So what you need to do is after you change the text of the thing to main menu, you go under button, go under your on click, menu.start button. We change it to menu, which is a script, change it to the main menu button. Okay, so now remember, we haven't added this to the scene. So if we play now, might have errors. So we need to do is go under build settings. Yeah, you can see here, we only have main menu level 1, 2. We need to add our thank you page. So drag the thank you page over. So now we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So your thank you page always at the last. So main menu, level 1, level 2, thank you. And then we are done. So we go to our menu, save. We can play the entire game already. So we have a game title, your game. So basically we have recreated the one I've shown you at the front. So go to level 2. After level 2, it should be the thank you page. Then you can go back to the main menu. Obviously, you can add more levels in the middle. Let's say on level 3. I'm not going to change the look of it. So level 3. So what you need to do is you just need to ensure that you put it in a build setting at the correct area. Then you are done. Yep. With that, any other questions? I think we are done for the entire main gameplay loop. So one thing extra that I might want to show you all is how to export it as a playable game. This is for to upload your games on the game jam to itch.io or create as an exe file. Yeah. So I think Momo has a question. Has Wei Hing answered your question, or do you still need more? Do you need me to repeat that part? Okay, how do we get the button to go to the game again? Okay, can. How do we get the button? Okay, so we go back to our main menu. Okay, since you haven't done the button, please don't duplicate the thank you page first, because we want to set up everything nicely, then we duplicate. Okay, so we go to the main menu. So we want to have a button. Button is under UI, button. Okay, then you have created this thing called a button. Then under the button, there will be a text that you can change the name of the button, like the text inside the button. And you want to make the button do something other than like just click for fun, is to add some behavior on this on click. So how do you find this on click? Is you click on the button object, you scroll all the way down to find the button component. So under the button component, there's this thing called on click. So and initially it will be empty. Then you need to paste in the canvas. Because the canvas is where I have attached the menu script. The script that I have provided is the menu script. Okay, so we just drag the canvas into this one here. And now we pick the correct function, which is the start button. Menu, start button. And now we can go to the next level already. Okay, so ensure to make sure that your next level go to the button. The button goes to the next level. Ensure that you're in your build settings. All your scenes has been put nicely. Main menu in front, level 1, 2, 3, thank you page. Background of the menu. You want to change the background of the menu? Okay, so what I need to do is this is something that I didn't cover. So it's simply just make an image, drag an image. This will be an image. Then you use a sprite that you have. Okay, you can see, right? Since it's on the bottom, right? It will cover everything. So I want the background to be the background. So I put it all the way to the top. So it'll be in front. So let's say I want to have an image. Okay, I don't have much image, so I will just pick a random image, this one. Yeah, so this is how you create a background image. So you right click canvas, or you right click, the canvas, then go under UI, create an image, then size your image accordingly using the rect tool. You can size it like this. Make sure it fits 4 corners because it's going to be a background image. Then you change the source image here to the image that you want to change. So this image you can import it as a JPEG, PNG from your art tools, yeah, or any pre-made assets that you have. Yeah. So now we have a working game. It's multiple levels. Yeah. So for the button part, is everybody okay? Okay, how to link the button. Okay, so now next thing you need to do is duplicate the main menu. So you got a thank you page. Thank you page should be same as the main menu. So now we have a button. We just need to change the text to main menu. So now instead, right, of using the, because initially you was using the start button, you want to change the menu into a main menu button. So we go to menu is a script that I provided. Then under this script, I have a public function called the main menu button. So I click this. So now when I click on this main menu button, it will go back to the main menu. Yeah, now we have a working game. Anybody else got other? Okay. Background color. Okay, I'll use this as an example for this one. You can also add an image, then change the color. I mean, that works also. Or you can change it under the main menu camera. You see here, when you press the main camera, there's a background color. You can change it to any color you want. Okay, but usually it's better to change it from the background, because your background is going to cover the camera anyway. The camera is not going to have the camera is not going to even be seen. So yeah, you can change it from the camera here, or you can do the image method, which is add an image. So if you want just how to have a flat color, right? So you can do is resize it properly. Okay, yep, resize it properly. Then you can change the color here also. Yeah, same thing. Okay, you can change from the camera, or you can change from the image. So image, you can change the color, or you can add an image. Yeah, hopefully that answered the question. Yep, so I think, yeah, that's done. So we'll just move on to the last part, which is to export your game as a WebGL build. Okay, so I think one of the requirements for the prerequisite for today's course is to have WebGL installed when you install your Unity editor. So what we do is you're going to press switch platform under build settings. So this is under file, build settings, where you put all your scenes on. Then you just press switch platform. Then after that, you just press build and run, and you have your finished game. And it can be put into itch.io, or it can be shared as a zip file, and people can play with it. Yeah, this will take some time. Yeah, and in the meantime, I think this almost at the end already. Like after this is no more. So any other questions, you can just post it on the chat. Okay, after you switch platform, it will take some time. And you build and run, it also takes some time. Yeah, it really depends on the computer. Okay, now everything is done. Let's close this. Now it's WebGL already. You can see by the Unity icon is now at the side of the WebGL. Then now you can press build and run. Okay, now we have need to create a folder for the game. Call it game or executable, whatever. I'm just gonna call it game this time. Game, select folder, and now just wait. It will just build for you, and now you can play as a game. Any other features that you can ask me? I can see if I can show it here. But yeah. So yeah, we just build and we just wait. So those of you already done also can try building, and you can see your finished game. Okay. You go under build settings. You see this thing come out, then you can just drag and drop. So you just click on level. Your main menu is below level 1, so you just click on main menu and push it on top. So your main menu must start from the 0. So you just click, hold and click and push it up. I cannot show now because it's building and I cannot click anything, but yeah, you just click on it and push it. That's how you rearrange your scenes. How do you connect the flag to the next level? Okay, so oh no, we don't need to collect the flag to the next level. So what the flag just need to have is we just need the flag to have have the tag called finish. Because in my script, I'm checking if I have collided with this thing called the finish tag. Then I also need a box collider for the flag so that the flag can be interactable with the player. Make sure that you resize the collider boundaries nicely so that it fits the flag. And then you make sure it's a trigger collider because we want it to trigger only in script. We don't want it to collide with the player actually. Did you accidentally delete your camera? Or is your main camera still there? Yeah, let's see if I can use another build. I can't do anything. Yeah, I can. Ooh, cool. Okay, let's try to break our previous save game. Unity really takes up quite a lot of computing power when it's actually compiling. Okay, so let's see if you accidentally deleted the main camera. Yeah, because you deleted the main camera. How to get the main camera is you right click. Where is it? Camera. Yeah, you have another camera. Yeah. So when you have a game, must ensure that the main camera is always somewhere because if you don't have the main camera, the game view will not even be shown. Yeah. So camera is one of the most important component. If you don't have it, your game will be black. You cannot see anything. Okay, I think the other one is still compiling. So if you all want to, you can compile at the same time. Okay, notice that I don't have the quit button because for WebGL, you don't quit because it's on a web page. Yeah. So if you have a quit button, it will crash the game, kinda. Then you have to reload the web page. That's why I didn't put a quit button. So usually if you're building as an exe, please add a quit button. Yeah, or I mean, there's a way to quit, which is alternate F4, but yeah, you can add a quit button. Okay, this is what an exe would look like. Because this is my previous game, I built it as an exe instead of what you call that? WebGL. So double click on it, like how you launch a game. Yeah, it's showing on my wrong monitor. So oops. Yeah, I don't think I can show you that because it's on my other monitor. Yeah. Okay. This one will just build a game. And we'll just be able to play as an exe. So I'm not sure what kind of format you can use to submit your games, but yeah, you can build to different platforms. I'm not sure if you can see. I don't think you can see already. Yeah, build settings. Yeah, there's other different platforms you can build to, and because since Unity helps you handle, like, let's say just not the horizontal movement, you can use joystick, you can use anything, so you can build to other platforms that uses joystick. You don't need to recode your movement again. So you can export to PC, Mac, Linux, WebGL, or other, even mobile phones quite easily. Okay, now the building is done. My first platformer, game, yeah. So once you're done with this, you can upload this into itch.io and you can host your game on itch.io. Okay. Yeah, I think we are done for the day. Anyone still have other questions? The uploading will be uploaded after the session. So if you miss any of the parts, you can rewatch it again. So it'll take some time to load. Okay, yeah, I think we'll just end it here because it will take some time to load. Yeah. So no other questions. I think we are done. Thank you very much for coming to the workshop. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging around in the Game Jam Discord. Yeah, you can find me there. I'll show you my Discord ID. You can ask me questions during the Game Jam. I'll be available. Yeah, this is my Discord handle. You can just add. How to install Unity with the WebGL option. Okay. So when you install here, you can, after you install, right, but let's say you don't want to reinstall, you can just press add modules. You can just add the WebGL module. Yeah, because I already downloaded it, so I cannot select it anymore. Yeah, so you can do that. So you go to your Unity hub, go to installs, go to the version of choice, click on the cogwheel, add modules. You can add all the other modules, Android, iOS, but for our case, we'll be using the WebGL. You save it as a HTML. Okay, you can either, okay, I'm not sure how the Game Jam is going to receive the submissions, but you can put it as an exe. You can download it as exe just now as I showed. Where is it? Yeah, then you can zip it and you can upload it onto platforms like itch.io. Yeah, so now this one already loaded already. Yeah, so this is your game in the browser, so you can play it already. Yeah, so this will be the web version of your game. Okay, so I will just if those who are still here and are interested to know how to upload it into your platform. So let's go to itch.io. Okay, so you can create a new project here. So you can put it my game or yeah, game title, of course. Okay, this will generate for you a project URL, then short description of your game, what kind of game. So this is the important part where you upload the files. Okay, so just now I save it as a WebGL file. So my platformer games. So what I need to do is I need to zip all of this. Remember, it's not var, it's a zip. If you use var, it will not work. So zip. So you can name it anything. Okay. And you simply just drag it. I don't think you can drag. You can just upload files, find the game. Zip. Yeah. Then after that, you can publish it already. It will automatically detect most of the settings for you. Then you can just press save and view. Then now you can view it as a game. Yep, I won't be publishing it. Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to build as a WebGL build. Then you need to zip it. Then you need to put it in itch.io. Okay. If you build as an exe, I think your players might have to download the entire folder. Even though if you upload it on the itch.io, you have to download the entire folder. Then they have to run the exe on the computer. Whereas if you save it as a WebGL, they can just run it on the website. Like so. Like something like that. You can just run it on the website. Yeah, so this would be more convenient for your players if if you upload it as a WebGL build. Okay, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. I'll just paste my Discord tag here. Any question you can ask? Yeah, so this will just build it in the game. Yeah, it will take some time to load. Yeah, so yeah, this will build your game into the thing. And you can submit it as a game jam title. Okay, yeah, I think that's all for today. If any other questions, you can stay back. If not, I think we'll be closing. I think we might close in about 10 minutes. Yeah. Any other last minute questions or anything? Thank you very much. What files do you click to run it from your COM again? Or for, you mean for the WebGL build, you click on the index.html. This one. Invalid build path. You can save it in any folder, but I save it in my platformer. I created a new folder called game, then I just save it inside here. Invalid build path. Let me see. Yeah, that can also be an issue. Make sure your build path, I'm not sure if Unity is very specific, but sometimes try not to have a space in your folders. Maybe you can put underscore instead of a space. Yeah. Yep. I've seen some of the posts online, they say, make sure you don't have spaces in your folders, in your location. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so someone direct messaged me, what is the difference between Unity and Unreal? Okay, they are basically game engines. Unity and Unreal. Okay, so I have not much experience with Unreal, but although I try a bit already. So one of the main difference is Unreal has, the programming language is different. Unreal uses C++ and Unity uses C#. In my personal opinion, I think C# is a lot easier. But Unreal also has this system called Blueprints, where it's like a visual coding tool. Instead of like scripting every event, you can just use the visual coding to drag and drop, link the stuff together. So you can also try out that. The main difference for Unreal and Unity, right, why people might choose Unreal, is it has a more built-in tools. Although Unity have a lot of like third-party tools that you can download from the Unity asset store, but I've seen the comparisons videos, and most people claim that Unreal has more inbuilt tools, and also Unreal, the 3D. If you're doing 3D games with like very, very high quality 3D games, definitely Unreal has a bit of an edge on the aspect especially in their lighting. Yeah, so that would be a main difference between Unity and Unreal. So for starting out, I highly recommend games engines like Unity or Godot. It's a lot easier to use. Yeah, but if you are very set on creating 3D games, you can try Unreal also. Yeah, Unreal will make your, if you're trying to run Unreal on a laptop, good luck unless you have very good specifications. Yeah. Unity and Godot is much more lightweight. It's easy for most laptops to run it. Yeah. And also, Unity is like, and Godot is very, very good for 2D. I think for Unreal, you might have some challenges to implement 2D. It will not be as intuitive or easy as Godot and Unity. Okay, yep. We're gonna close in about another 5 more minutes. Anything you can ask, just ask. I think the recording will be stopped now.